Mhm.
All right, Internet, can you hear us now?
I can.
Great. Someone on the call talk again. I want to test that part.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Perfect. All right, everyone can be heard now.
Cool.
Sweet. Okay, so for part one, there was nothing for subtleties or questions we need to work out for Metropolis. Let's get to updates to testing. Um, let's see. Martin's going to be late. Yoichi, do you know anything about the latest on testing updates?
Um, Casey and Guido and Martin Swing, they are making great progress on the fudging part. I think they found one or two differences between clients. So maybe it's that one of them speaks.
Great. I think I just saw Casey join. Casey, can you hear us? Oh, I don't think your mic's working if you're talking. Okay, he'll probably be back. Um, so I think we'll just get to testing whenever Casey comes back. Um, let's see. Who else do we have? Okay, the testnet launch. As far as we know, things are still going okay on testnet. Has anyone put anything else on the testnet that tests out any of the new um, features or anything like that that are coming to Metropolis so that we can see how clients react?
I haven't tested anything on the testnet, but I did test the ModExp on Ethereum JS and CPP for doing RSA verification.
Okay, cool. Would you be able to push that to Ropsten or maybe Rinkeby after Monday once it's switched over?
Yeah, I think we could make that happen.
Great. And yeah, if you do that, just let us know when you push that because once you do, we want to have all the clients listening in, I guess the testers looking at the clients and seeing if there's any abnormalities once the transaction is pushed. So it'd be perfect if you can, or like just let us know the transaction that you pushed it to or any other information.
All right, yeah, will do.
Thanks so much. Hey, Casey, can you hear us now?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yep, can hear you now. So, what are the updates as far as testing Hive and the other stuff?
Um, well, the fuzz tester found a consensus bug, a Byzantium consensus bug yesterday, so that's pretty exciting.
Is there what are the details of that, or was it just one that like you just ran all the test for and it just kind of came up? Was it between parity and Geth?
Yeah, so there was a slight issue with return data size for built-ins, if Casey's talking about the one that I think he is.
Yeah,
but there's Arkady made a pull request for that. It's currently in review.
Okay, great. Well, that's good. At least we know that I guess fuzzy testing is working out pretty well. Um, let's see.
Yeah, I can paste a link to the fuzz testing output.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, here we go.
Cool. And then anybody else have any updates to testing or anything of note?
Update about Ethereum J, as you might already mention that it has stuck on some block. So I have reproduced it locally and going to investigate into this problem.
Okay, that's great, Mikhail.
I,
Thank you.
I hope it will be solved soon before we plan a release for next week. So I'm going to fix it ASAP, and yeah, I hope it will be okay.
Okay, great.
In a couple of days.
Perfect. So, and actually, is there any more updates to testing? Because if not, we'll get into the clients. And actually, with this, for every client I go through, can you let me know if you are going to have a client released by the 17th that would be compatible with Metropolis? I mean, I already know a few of you either have or will, but I guess I just want to know which ones will be ready and which ones won't officially. So let's see, was there anything else? The first one is Geth. So Peter, I know that you all had just released 1.7.1. Is there going to be another release, do you think, or is that it?
Nope, unless we find something really ugly that we need to hotfix, this is it. We will postpone any release up until after Byzantium.
Great. All right, Parity?
Yeah, unless something else comes up, we should have 1.8.0 and 1.7.3 before that time, both Byzantium compatible.
Okay, great. CPP Ethereum, I guess that'd be Pavel.
Actually, we haven't thought about this, but I think what we can do is just add a git tag marking the code that is capable of doing the Metropolis transition.
Okay, great. I'll reach out to you for that so I can add it to any post of people curious to run that. Ethereum J. So, Mikhail, I think y'all had a release that has the block number in it, or are you going to be having one?
We have it in the develop branch, so we have a snapshots with this block enabled in Robston and in the mainnet, but we haven't done a release yet, public release. I mean.
Okay, and you think you'll do one before the 17th?
Yeah, sure. We're going to do it next week.
Perfect.
As I already said. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then I guess Ethereum JS, that would be Jared, I think, or Casey.
Yeah, so we're looking pretty good. I know we ran into some issues originally with getting the changes to work in Remix, but Casey stepped in and was really helpful. So yeah, we're looking good. So
great. So there's basically a release or a download that is compatible with Byzantium that has the block number and everything.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yoichi, I know you put the yellow paper changes, and I saw that Gavin merged some changes lately. So has there been plans or communication for yellow paper update? That's not as necessary, but I'm just more wondering.
So here I'm working with Martin Swenda about the rules about empty accounts on pre-compiled contracts. I'm doing an experiment. So I implemented the Go Ethereum rules in CPP Ethereum and trying to sync the mainnet. I'm now around the Shanghai attacks and my machine is crying, but soon I will see the result.
Cool. Okay. That sounds good. So Pythap, Vitalik?
Sorry, what were you asking again?
Oh, no problem. So basically, I'm wanting to know if the client is going to have a release before the 17th that would be compatible.
You see. It technically already has had a release, and like including push to being pushed to PyPy, which does have. Well, actually, no, sorry. I don't think that release technically has block number 4.37 million turned on yet, but it doesn't matter too much given that there isn't really such a thing as a running Ethereum node in its more testing library.
Okay, sounds good.
But
So, go ahead.
And actually, you know, I probably will just make a release and stick the block number in. It's not difficult.
Okay, great. And I mean, yeah, it's mostly for research, but I was going to make a Reddit post here in about a week or less that kind of gives links to all of the clients that are ready. So if you want Python to be listed, just yeah, I'd make a release just to make it a little more clear for people. Let's see. I don't think there's any other clients. Did I miss anybody? Okay, great. Yeah, part D was make sure clients are ready for the hard fork. And then, let's see, there's only two other ones. One of them was one that Christian wanted to discuss, but I know he's going to be a little late. So we can kind of start that discussion and then recap it with him a little bit. Or just I can do notes for him later. This is about account abstraction. So let me make sure I'm understanding. Account abstraction was actually going to be an EIP 86, right? Or the start of it. Okay, so since we were having those issues and concerns that I think were outlined in a post by Casey months ago when we decided to split into two, has there been any progress on or thought on how to fix some of those or how to go forward with it in Constantinople?
I think so. There were a couple of issues, right? So one of them is that it would just figuring out what the minimal kind of minor acceptance strategy would be. And like really the minimal thing to do would be to just roll it out as a hard fork and have no minor acceptance strategy initially, except, you know, like presumably we'd like contact one miner and just ask them to make some kind of, make some kind of text box, or if people really want to submit transactions, they can. And then basically just like slowly expanded from there. The other issue, actually, so and I did write up a document that and it's still work in progress, but here, hold on, let me just quickly push it someplace.
Okay.
It's basically where I can talk about like what the issues in account abstraction are, and so one of them is this issue that you have to support transactions, like a transaction with the exact same hash being included twice, which is, I mean, theoretically, like it does break an invariant, though it does so at the cost, and I think, as I might have said before, with the benefit of introducing this other invariant, which is that the validity of a block is no longer state dependent at all. So, you know, we can, but basically the problem is that if we don't do that, then we would have to have a built-in non-scheme, and that would, like, it would complicate the abstraction scheme because it would prevent us from just like really easily going down to one account type. So that was one of the challenges, and then the other challenge has to do with things like efficiency. So basically, it's like we really want to have an extra 200 or 300 bytes lying around for every account, and you know, would that turn into just being even more state bloat? I mean, for the transaction hash issue, I'm inclined to say that like that's more something for like if developers say that that's really hard to handle, then we can try to work around it. Although my personal preference is to try to move towards something like that eventually. As for the other part to do with efficiency goes, there might be some other EIPs that could be included at the same time that would make this sort of thing easier. And that's my kind of main thought so far. Let's see, I wonder if it's if that file's already there. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so basically issue 1 efficiency, issue 2 minor exception strategies, issue 3 transaction double inclusion, issue 4 account creation. So those are probably the main barriers that I see so far. And at this point, I think it's still worth kind of privately thinking a bit more. And actually, like personally, I would even say that at this point, given the fairly strict. And given the level of just difficulty of implementing EIPs in general, and there are other things that I would say might be equally complex and have higher priority, such as scaling, parallelizability and scaling improvements. So it might be worth kind of thinking about trade-offs as well.
Cool. Anybody have a response to that or other thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the prioritization bit. The parallelization, the EVM performance is definitely something that we should try to focus on. If you actually try to get, if you ever use the chain for anything non-trivial, like if I test like your ring signature stuff, and it's like starts taking up more than half of 70% of the block base, it's very.
Hey Vitalik, can you mute your mic? It's having some echo.
Oh yes, sure.
Could you repeat just the last couple sentences, Matt, with you?
I said, yeah, like if you try to use the chain to get stuff that's more than like 3-4 million gas, like the miners must have some strategy, like because you can say, look, this is for a million gas, but then it only uses 100 gas. So it's actually quite hard to get high gas stuff into the chain now. If it's 3-4 million gas, actually it starts to get into the non-trivial use cases, and that stuff is becoming a real bottleneck for the chain. So if we can do scaling and parallelization to push the effective gas limit to 50 million or something, that would be if I think if we actually can make a set of improvements that even like a 4-factor improvement, I think that would be to prioritize that over a counter transaction, which is probably going to take a very long time for the rest of the ecosystem to catch up with anyway.
Okay, so it sounds like it's agreement. Oh, go ahead, Vitalik.
I'd be interested in getting a kind of difficulty estimate for basically like how long it would take to implement, let's say, actually 2 things. One of them would be EIP 648. And when I say implement, I don't just mean implement in the simplest possible way. I actually mean like implement in such a way that you actually have, like you actually benefit from the parallelization, and like on an 8-core machine, you'd actually be able to process the chain 8 times faster. And the other EIPs I did want to call attention to are the EIPs that have to do with querying dust accounts. So I think that's 168 and 169. Let me see if I can just paste those in here. Basically, because I feel like, especially with the increasing amount of usage that we have so far, we probably have a huge amount of dust that could be cleared out. And implementing these 2 could possibly, we could try to measure how much it would reduce the state size, but I have a feeling it would be by a fairly substantial amount.
Regarding the dust accounts, one interesting question is, so if we kind of assume that dust accounts can be completely deleted, meaning nonce balance everything, then if I recreate that account a bit later, it means that I can recreate the same transactions with the same hashes and everything, and those will actually appear multiple times in the chain.
Well, so EIP 169 permits that.
Okay, I have to look a little deeper into it. I haven't read them that. But
it is definitely an important problem. So.
Okay, interesting. I'm just looking at the EIPs for 168 and 169. So so the definition of like dust accounts, I'm just trying to make sure I know. It's there's so little ether in there you can't actually get it out, right?
So
yeah. There's accounts that are dust accounts, and then there's accounts that have literally nothing. And
I see.
So
some
for
of them.
example, sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to give an example that, for example, one way that dust accounts got left in the system is that if you want to sweep a wallet contract, basically it's impossible to sweep it because the outer call to just send it through somebody else will retain a bit of gas that will never be freed up.
Okay, I see. And is this going to be a problem when contracts can pay for themselves, or is that going to help alleviate it?
Well, it's basically just getting rid of disk chunk.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, I think it's also worth mentioning. It's important to have this kind of mechanic because like whenever like with the BIS fork, if people actually start using ring contracts, that will create a ton of these dust accounts because the ring contract has slightly different gas usage just because of how the curve operations work and the hash to elliptic curve point. So yeah, it'll end up generating tons of dust accounts.
Christian, I just saw you joined. We're talking about item 2, which is account abstraction, and Vitalik posted a link in the core dev chat, and Peter reposted it in this chat that kind of goes through some of the abstraction proposals from Vitalik, and Matthew and Vitalik talked a little bit about what to make priority earlier. So yeah, did you have any thoughts, Christian, specifically? And if they've already been discussed, we can just kind of recap them.
Sorry, I didn't have time to read that text yet.
No problem. Yeah, no, this was just posted. You had just posted before the account abstraction discussion, and it said, I think we should slowly bring up account abstraction again. How do toolsets providers think about it, and do we find solutions that are better in the meantime? And toolset providers, that's just like developers, right?
Yeah, I mean developers, so the dApp developers, which includes blockchain explorers and exchanges. So, I mean, I don't have any specific proposals. I just think we should get it on the agenda again after we postponed it.
Okay, sounds good. Let's see. Any other thoughts or comments on item 2? Okay, so item 3 is the reducing gas costs for S-Store. I actually accidentally left that one on there. So it's the ephemeral storage discussion that we kind of just touched on lightly last time. And does anyone have any comments on that? This is one of those that was over my head, so I don't know if anyone had any comments.
Sorry, I do have a comment on point 2.
Yeah, sure.
The create 2 opcode, somewhat connected, and we have postponed it. Which part would we want to get sorted first, create 2 or the entire account abstraction?
Anybody have comments? Okay. I think after Vitalik types this message on the getter, was it, who wanted to bring this up? Was it Martin? Something about importing difficulty adjustments test?
Yeah, so just a reminder from the last core dev call, we mentioned that there will be difficulty adjustment tests, which we can't turn into blockchain tests. But they live now and have for the last couple of weeks lived under basic tests in the Ethereum tests folder. They have been regenerated for Byzantium, and since we came to black box testing on them, each client needs to manually pull them into whatever test harness they're using. So Geth has it. I know that Ethereum JS, I have no idea the status for Ethereum J and Parity. But yeah, just a heads up about that.
Parity in Ethereum J, did y'all get that? And do y'all have anything right now in testing for that?
Yeah, I don't think we have the basic tests included, but we can start on that.
Yeah, I don't think you need to do the full basic test, but they happen to live in that folder, and you just, it's very simple construct, just raw basic things that are needed to calculate the difficulty. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty self-explanatory.
It's, yeah, I must not have the submodule update. Yeah, are these like lots of randomly generated test cases? Like, would it be a problem if we were to transpose these as unit tests in our implementation? Or do you think it's better if we draw them from the submodule, if they'd be subject to change pretty often?
I don't think they'll be subject to change often, but if we ever need to change anything, they will be regenerated from scratch, because I think there's some random element there. As far as I know, there is. So they won't be exactly the same if they are regenerated. So it would be better if you import the JSON file, load the JSON file.
Okay, I can file that to be done.
Perfect.
Thanks. Ethereum J?
Could you please repeat what tests are we talking about now?
So we're talking about tests for difficulty adjustment.
In a basic suite, yeah?
Yeah, they reside there. They're called difficulty something.
Yeah, thanks, Martin. So I have implemented these tests, I guess, this week or, yeah, early this week. So we pass them, if this is the question.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. They haven't implemented. And I also asked about the issue with the difficulty below the minimal difficulty for your network. Yeah, so I have just ignored those for now.
So have Jeff. Yes, we did the same thing. We ignore, because basically, so the thing is the tests have been generated with some of the tests have a difficulty below the yellow paper defined minimum difficulty. And basically the formula is not defined. So any such test is implementation specific quirk. So the get client ignores those specific test cases.
Okay, thanks. That sounds good. Any other comments on that? And also, Dimitri and Martin, do y'all have any other comments on testing in general? We went through that topic, I think, before you guys got in the room.
No, I guess you already talked about it. I was happy to see a consensus issue found by the fuzz testing. So I'm really glad that we got that whole trace JSON functionality into the clients.
Great. Dimitri, did you? Oh, he's actually having a bad connection right now, it looks like. If everyone could refresh the agenda, I added just a couple more topics. Let's see. So we've already gone through 3 pretty much. Does anyone have anything else on testing, abstraction, or the ephemeral storage S-store stuff?
No.
Okay, great. So let's see. Oh, hey, Lefteris, are you speaking? Because it's making like weird noises. Okay, must have just been a temporary thing. So item 4 is EIP 730, strict encoding order for ABI. So who brought that up? Was it Axic? So Alex, if you want to bring that up, go right ahead.
Yeah, so basically in the ABI encoding, dynamic types have an offset where the dynamic type itself is encoded. and there's no strict order enforced by most of the decoders currently. The example there is if you have like 2 strings, you could encode it at least in 2 different ways, and it would result in the same decoded data. Also, gaps could be included in the encoding, so there are infinite number of different ways to encode any of those. Now, this came up as a concern if we would wanted to use ABI encoding input in precompiles. Such discussions were on the Blake and one of the pairing discussions. So the proposal is to, well, basically define a stricter encoding and enforce the stricter encoding if it's used in precompiles. And thirdly, we could try to enforce it for contracts. Now there, it really depends on, I guess it's not really part of the EVM, it really depends on language designers, whether they would want to enforce it or not. But we could definitely enforce Solidity to only output strict encoded ABI, which probably is already the case. And it could have a mode that it rejects anything which isn't encoded strictly. Now, the last part is probably the way to enforce all of this is by creating a test suite, which has in all these cases as failure cases. And hopefully all the major libraries would be tested against the test suite. But any comments on this?
So yeah, I have a question and a comment. And the comment is that I think it would be really good to strict it up a bit. So you can, for example, wrap around the offset with a -1 integer and stuff like that, which you can today on a dynamic type. But the question is backwards compatibility. If there has been like Serpent versus Solidity calling contracts, and they have used different ways to encode the same content. If there could be any such issues.
Yeah, I think the main steps we could take is actually collect all those cases which we would like to restrict and define a test suite. And we could definitely enforce the stricter rules for the new precompiles if we choose to use ABI encoding for them. And we could definitely enforce Solidity to encode the stricter mode. But the question then comes in for the inputs for Solidity contracts or Serpent contracts, if there would be any old usage which would use non-strict ABIs.
So Solidity has always used the what you call strict mode. I mean, it's just the specification itself already only allows the strict mode, but decoders have always been implemented in a way which is more flexible. So by just taking the pointer as a pointer. I mean, enforcing strict mode in a decoder, that's a certain trade-off because it will remove or destroy one of the performance guarantees that the ABI encoding has, namely that accessing a single element in this encoded structure only requires as many lookups as this element is deep inside the structure. And if you want to basically check the validity of the encoding, you need to access a lot more. Having said that, of course, the Solidity decoder in most of the cases does a full decoding and thus doesn't make use of this property anyway. But a question I would have is, what is the benefit of verifying the correct order of the elements in the decoder?
So, I mean, reading this EIP, it seems like one thing that was mentioned is precompiles, because like that's something that everyone has to validate in the exact same way. Although the thing that I would reply to that is that so far, like, we do not have even a single precompile that's actually defined in terms of accepting inputs in ABI format. Like, we basically take care to define the way every precompile accepts input all just very explicitly without trying to like push it to even equal the ABI in a lot of cases. So aside from precompiles, there's basically like this would basically just be implemented in high-level languages. The main benefit of the main benefit of us this checking in general, I suppose, is that it basically makes bugs fail in a way that's more graceful, so they do nothing instead of doing the wrong thing. But I'm not sure like order is necessarily one of those cases. You know, there might be more spookier encoding. So, like for example, where like you have if you have two variable length numbers or two variable length values in the ABI, and then the pointers both point to the same thing, or the pointers point to memory, basically like memory slices that overlap each other, or like intersect each other, surround each other, or whatever. And theoretically, there's a whole bunch of different things that could be done. But in order for in order for any of those to be an issue, though, like basically it would have to be some kind of weird malicious ABI encoder. And I'm not sure that ABI encoders that are malicious enough to do weird encodings, but not malicious enough to provide specify the wrong data are worth including as part of the threat model.
So I agree that the precompiles is an issue, and we should probably enforce just the encoding exactly as specified. The other risk, I mean, the stuff intersecting, yeah, I mean, that might be an issue, but yeah. I mean, one thing I see is, I mean, it is not a bijective encoding, right? So one thing that might be dangerous is that people think that the hash of msg.data is unique for the data that is input. So you can craft two inputs that decode to the same data but have a different hash. But I guess people are probably aware of that anyway. I mean, you can add trading zeros, but yeah.
And in Viper, there is no chance in hell I'm going to expose msg.data. So yeah, like in general, it seemed like if you want to, if you want to be secure with this sort of thing, the thing that probably makes sense is to try to just make a tuple explicitly and use that as an index.
Exactly. We should probably keep the ABI encoding flexible and only expose the decoded data to the language so that it's not an issue.
No.
But it is the same issue as sending truncated ABI, which I think has caused some issues in some of the contracts before. So it's more like a security question in the long term.
Yeah, I mean, we check truncated ABI in the new decoder. We can check truncated data in the new decoder, but checking that the pointers are in a strict order as part of the decoder when it's not consensus relevant, I think that goes a bit too far.
Okay, so we should discuss this EIP more. I'm thinking offline and bring it up next meeting. Does that sound good, Alex?
Yep. I guess just any help in So if anyone has seen any weird encodings, just pop it in there, so we could at least collect a test suite.
Great. Let's see. Where's the agenda? Cool. Let's see. Dimitri, can you hear us now?
Yep.
Awesome. Did you have any testing updates? I think you were the last one who hasn't, who didn't go.
So I'm preparing a full test regeneration. I'm adding a new feature, so we could now check that every test that we have is actually updated with a test filler. So now test has a hash of the filler. And one of the updates, one of the recent updates was that we now check that there are no tests without fillers. So I already removed some of the outdated tests from the repository. And right now I'm preparing this full test regeneration. This will include all the Hive test regeneration. And I did C test update. Using C test tool, I could now run test generation in a threads. And this is significantly increasing the test regeneration process.
Awesome. All right. Anyone else have anything else before I go to the last topic?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Left Airs. Yeah, go right ahead if your mic's working.
Yeah. Yeah. So just a small question. I just wanted to make sure when and which version of Parity will have, or is it, if it's already there, the transaction receipt status field?
Did you get that question, Vitalik?
No.
Oh, can you repeat that?
That's for Robert.
Yes. So
I think it was.
it's for Parity.
For Parity. Robert.
Could you repeat that?
Yes. So it's a question about the transaction receipt status field.
Oh yeah, we changed it to status instead of status code.
And is that going to make it? Is it in a release now or not yet?
No, but it will be. We haven't actually, I think, made a release yet with the status code EIP, but it will be in the release that contains that.
Robert, Dev3 wants the status code in the JSON RPC.
Yeah.
Yes, in the F get transaction receipt. It is there for get right now.
Yeah, I think you guys are talking about the same thing. Oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a link to the pull request in the chat.
Okay, great. Did that answer your question, Left Airs?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that it's there, and maybe if we can find someone from Etherscan to kind of update the UI of Etherscan if it detects that the transaction receipt has 0, because right now in Robsten, for example, it doesn't do that, and all of the transactions that even they reverted, they appear to be successful, and for non-technical users, that could be a problem because they would see Etherscan and they would think, everything is fine, while actually there was a revert.
I see. All right, I know the devs for Etherscan and I think Ethplore, and there's a few other ones that probably need to know this information. So I will get you in touch with them.
All right, just making sure.
Thanks so much. And yeah, that actually would be really helpful for people, especially ones who are less technical, who need to know if it was reverted or not. So yeah, I'll get you in touch with them, and I think that's good. Alex, did you have one more thing to say? I think I saw your mic unmute.
Me? No.
Oh, okay, great. So anybody else have any other comments? Cool.
Yeah, no, just one quick thing for me.
Sure.
Anybody who works on Ethereum JS on the call? I was, well, I'm working on a contract to for some alt-BN rank signature stuff. Because if anybody here is on the call, can anybody tell me has the Ethereum JS VM been tested at all with the precompiles or not?
Yeah, it has. It's in Ethereum JS. We compiled the Parodies BN128 curve Rust library to ASM.js. So Ethereum JS VM uses an ASM.js EM script and compiled version of the parody BN library.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah,
we
and
should
it's been
get that
fully
to the
tested.
Rust developers as a WASM success story.
Cool. All right. Anybody else have comments? Cool. Last thing, EIP merging and updates. So there were a few things, including snappy compression and what else? All of the ENS ERCs, and I think something that Alex put in lately, the designated invalid EVM instruction. Basically, a bunch of EIPs and ERCs had not been put in the finalized EIPs table, so I fixed that. If y'all want to go to the link, if I'm missing one, or if you guys have an EIP or ERC that's been approved but is stuck, just let me know, and we can go through and look at it and either approve it or go to the next step toward the approval process. So just heads up to everybody to go in and check that out, especially if your EIP or ERC isn't listed, that has been declared, approved, finalized, whatever.
There's one peculiar one, 609. It's on the final list, but the status is draft on the table.
Yeah, I should probably take that one off, but because it's going to be final really soon, and people probably want to see the Byzantium hard fork stuff to know what EIPs are in there, I just put it in for people.
Okay. Just didn't know whether it's an anomaly or whether it's deliberate.
No, it was on purpose, but it is confusing because I had the chart's called finalized EIPs, so I might change that. Robert, did you have anything?
Yeah, actually, the dev P2P snappy thing got me thinking. So I think that's a good change. But it reminded me of the dev P2P discovery v5 proposal that's been floating around. Does anybody know what the status of that is? If it's been posted as an EIP, if the document's been updated?
Yeah, so Felix has been working on for the past maybe 2 weeks. Basically, he's focusing on the Discovery v5. It's going to be his topic for DEF CON. And he's actually hoping that he can prepare all the documentation for DEF CON, and then we can have a face-to-face discussion at DEF CON to just iron out all the bugs and stuff like that. So I'm not sure, are you Parity people coming to DEF CON? Because it would really help if you could just sit down on a table and just have a discussion.
Yeah, a few of us are. Should see you there.
Yeah, definitely. Then, so Felix is definitely aiming to finish documentation by that time, so it can be discussed properly.
Yeah, great. If there's a draft that someone feels comfortable sharing, would love to see that as well.
Yeah, of course. I'll ask Felix. I'm not sure. I don't think I can catch him today, but I'll ask him on Monday to ping you guys if he has something.
Cool. Great.
Great. And what's that EIP number?
I'm not sure whether it's an EIP or it was just a work in progress documentation.
Okay, no problem. All right, sounds like there's going to be a Parity Geth beachside meeting with margaritas. I'm going to put that down.
Ooh, nice.
All right, cool. I think that was the last thing. Does anybody else have any other comments, agenda topics, anything they want to discuss?
I have comments for the EAP list.
Sure.
170 is twice in the list.
Oh.
And
right.
145 bitwise shifting is in the finalized list, but it should be in the Constantinople list.
Which one? What was that number again?
145.
145. Ah, I see. Okay, and what was the one you said at first? I'm just trying to save these.
170.
170. Yep, it's in there twice. Okay, thanks so much. I will definitely fix that. Oh, it's finalized, but it's okay. That's going to be coming into Constantinople. That's right. Perfect. Okay, I'll take note of that. So the hard fork is going to be coming up before the next core dev meeting. The next core dev meeting is on the 20th, and the hard fork is on the 17th, or roughly around that time. Is that, and actually, this is a good question while I'm just finishing up. Is that still the case that the 17th is the approximate date of the hard fork? Can anyone run a calculation on that?
I can do that right now.
Appreciate it, Metallic.
Okay, let's see. So the current difficulty 2941, the block time 29.40, timestamp 15073, blah blah blah, block number 4342225. Alrighty. 3.37 million will happen on the 16th.
16th. Okay.
Yeah, it looks like hash power has been holding stable, and it's gone back up a bit. It's at basically exactly 100 gigahashes right now.
Great.
Yeah.
Cool. So
yeah, expect it'll do I expect hash power will do a tiny leg up because the block reward per second will increase again, though the difficulty will do a large leg down on the 17th, and it will look very hilarious on the charts.
Mm-hmm. What was that last part? You said very what on the charts?
Hilarious on the charts.
Oh, hilarious. Okay. Great. Okay. Oh, I forgot. Is Rinkeby forking on Monday? Peter?
Yep, it's scheduled around Monday at 10 o'clock UTC, give or take a bit.
Okay, great. Cool. Is Coven planning on anything for that? Is anyone here like involved in Coven testnet? All right, I'll have to reach out to Melon or.
Yeah, hold on. I'm consulting.
Oh, say that one more time, Robert.
Yeah, so we'll probably bundle that in with some other changes to Covan's consensus in general, but most likely before Byzantium on the mainnet.
Okay, great. That sounds good. All right. Let's see. All right, I think that's all, guys. If there's not anything else, thanks everybody, and we will either talk at the hard fork if something goes wrong, or we'll talk in 2 weeks.
Hudson, quick question.
Yeah, sure.
You will set up a fork monitor for mainnet too, right?
I will set up some type of fork monitoring. You mean like a call or something?
No. I meant that we have that stats page for Robston. That's stats.robston.ethereum.org.
Yeah, that one.
That was Casey.
Casey set up the last one. Casey, do you have any plans to set up one for mainnet?
Yeah, we'll get that going for mainnet too.
Sweet.
Great. Thanks, Casey. And I think that actually supports a bunch of clients now. What clients are on there? Java, CPP, Geth, and Parity?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, cool. Great. Any other comments or anything?
Yeah, I don't know if you already talked about it. Was there an issue with the Ethereum J on that block, or was it just a node fall over?
Oh, are you talking about Java?
Yeah, someone said that the Ethereum J node seemed to be stuck on status.robston.org. Was that an issue, or was it just?
It's currently on the charts. I mean, it's not on the page.
Yeah, now it's off. Totally off. But it was stuck before.
I think Mikhail has a comment on it.
Yeah, it has stuck, and I've just made a quick check, and you can say that the problem is with the log bloom. So I will investigate on it. So it's not a consensus issue, as I have thought before.
Okay, thanks for the update. Any other comments? Great. I think we're going to hit exactly an hour. Yay. All right. Talk to y'all in 2 weeks. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.